Hello and welcome to The Top Story, a podcast with the headlines of the day from our correspondents around the world. I'm Do Hongyu. Coming up in this edition, ravaging wildfires in Los Angeles have killed at least 24 people. Xizang has held a memorial service to mourn the victims of the 6.8 magnitude earthquake hitting the southwestern Chinese region. And the incumbent Croatian president Zoran Milanovic has won a landslide victory to claim a second term as president. We begin in North America. Local authorities have confirmed that the ravaging wildfires in Los Angeles have killed at least 24 people. Firefighters are making slow progress in their battle to contain the fires. They have contained 11% of the Palisades fire and 27% of the Eaton fire. Weather authorities have forecast stronger winds this week, which may further complicate efforts. Tony Waterman has more from Los Angeles.
Authorities knew that this wind was on its way, so they say that they are prepared. And part of that preparation is putting these firefighting crews in very strategic locations like the Mandeville Canyon neighborhood area. And this is where the Palisades fire has been creeping closer and closer to over the last 24 hours or so. There are firefighters shooting off a hose of water right now because there's been a lot of smoke and brush fires taking place across this general area. And speaking to the firefighters on the ground here, they say that they are in strategic locations throughout this neighborhood in case these embers are blown into the area because of these winds. They can respond immediately to put out those fires. They have had very favorable conditions on Sunday. The winds have died down, but they are forecast to pick back up. They're going to get very, very gusty. Meteorologists saying over the next couple of days, gusts as high as 110 kilometers per hour. We've got a little bit of good news. The Kenneth blaze, which was one of the smaller fires, officials say is now being contained 100%. That doesn't mean that it is extinguished. That means that it has been ring-fenced, and that helps to stop the further spread of those flames. The origins of this fire are still under investigation. Officials say that everything is on the table. This is a very, very dry region. Southern California has not received any substantial amount of rain in over 8 months now. So all of the plants, all of the grass, all of the brush, everything is completely dried out. Another thing that they are looking into is the possibility that utility equipment may have started this fire. So this is something we have seen in the past decade or so, that there have been pieces of utility equipment that have sparked fires in the past. So this is also going to be something that they're investigating.
That was Tony Waterman reporting. The fires in Los Angeles have destroyed over 12,000 buildings and forced over 100,000 people to evacuate. Many residents have decided to abandon their homes and flee ahead of the advancing flames. Eddie Stianza visited the front lines of the Palisades fire to find out more.
This is the front lines of the Palisades fire here in Los Angeles. I'm right in front of the hills that are now burning as of Saturday. This is the new area that has just come under evacuation orders. There's no one to be seen around me, including the firefighters, although I've seen a heavy presence of fire crews dispersed into different areas. But the fire is burning in such a large area that they just can't possibly be everywhere all at once.
The National Guard has been deployed to block the roads for safety, while residents were forced to wait for hours to see what was left of their homes.
I need to see my house. We've lived there for 30 years, and everything of ours is gone. Lost everything. But, they have to let us in because there's no fire down there now, and I want to see my house.
I'm following a fire crew over here. The firefighters are knocking on every door to make sure this place is evacuated. And you can probably also hear in the air, the aircraft support has also arrived, dropping water and fire retardant on those hills that are still on fire.
And they're working around the houses to make sure that the area is cleared around them, so if fire does get down to the house, that it has the best chance it can of saving. There have been fixed-wing aircraft dropping retardant. There's retardant all over the ground. And right now we have Type 1 helicopters that can drop a large amount of water in an area. So they're just really hammering this hillside behind me.
This is just so sad. More and more vehicles are leaving the area, and we do have more fire crews that have just arrived, but unfortunately, this is really turning into a race against time. That entire hilltop has at this point caught fire, and larger flames have also approached. So this is going to be a pretty uphill battle to contain the flames before this home catches fire.
Burning nearly 10,000 hectares, the Palisades fire alone has destroyed more than 5,000 structures, and as of Sunday, it's only 11% contained as windy conditions persist.
That was Xizang reporting. Many U.S. states as well as neighboring Canada and Mexico are now involved in helping Los Angeles contain the wildfires. Poppy and Putin has more.
The wildfires sweeping Los Angeles have been raging for days, with multiple fires burning, fanned by unusually strong seasonal Santa Ana winds and dry vegetation due to drought conditions. Entire neighborhoods are razed to the ground, and officials fear the confirmed death toll will rise. And with high winds forecast through at least midweek, authorities are braced for more hard work ahead.
When the wind picks up and those embers start flying, that's where our concern is. So we're going to continue to be vigilant and staffing the entire perimeter of the fires.
Firefighters tackling the blazes from the ground and the air have faced a number of resource constraints, including water hydrants running dry and understaffed fire departments. This weekend, some welcome relief from the country's closest neighbors. On Saturday, Mexico dispatched a crew of firefighters, accompanied by a message from President Claudia Sheinbaum, shared on social media, underscoring her country's spirit of generosity and support.
We're incredibly humbled and grateful that the president was willing to send the crew you see behind me. They'll be out on the lines within the next 24, 36 hours, and we're very, very grateful.
Canada is also sending crews and has already sent 2 so-called super scooper aircraft capable of collecting more than 6,000 litres of water from the ocean on a single pass and then dousing flames from above. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau wrote on social media that we both know that Canada and the United States are more than just neighbours. We're friends, especially when times get tough. California's always had our back when we battle wildfires up north. Now Canada's got yours. Here in the US, a number of states, including Texas, Arizona and Colorado, have also deployed firefighters to California.
That was Poppy and Putin reporting. Moving on to Asia, Xizang has held a memorial service to mourn the victims of the 6.8 magnitude earthquake that struck the southwestern Chinese region last week. The quake hit Dingri County in Shigaze, killing 126 people. Hundreds of people attended the event in Chamto, the worst-hit area, on Monday. Chen Mengfei has more.
I'm in Dingri County, Changzuo Township. I'm in this village in Changzuo Township that's called Ga-ri Village, and the memorial service that was held was in the town center. There were about 100 people. We have rescuers, we have government officials, and some representatives of the local resident. And when the air siren was played for 3 minutes, everyone took their hats off and bowed down in silence. And simultaneously, not only in Dingri County, but I believe in other regions in Xizang as well, some cities, townships also played this air siren, and everyone who heard it stopped what they were doing and spent 3 minutes in mourning of the lives that were very tragically lost from this earthquake last week.
That was Chen Mengfei reporting. Authorities in Dingri are taking steps to protect public health amid the earthquake. One of the priorities is to ensure clean sanitary conditions to avoid the spread of diseases. Zheng Songwu has more.
The Center for Disease Control and Prevention in Dingri County says diseases affecting the intestines and the respiratory system are 2 of the main problems after winter earthquake. In an effort to combat the spread of such diseases, authorities are disinfecting Chulo Township every day and testing the drinking water every 3 days. Before the results come in, affected people in a township drink mineral or pure water provided by the government and NGOs.
We visited all villages every day to disinfect public areas and to see if there's anyone who suffers from the cold, coughs, and diarrhea.
Staff from Saga and Nilam counties, both nearby to Dingri, have carried out similar measures in Trula Township and Koko Township. Meanwhile, staff from Shigade Center are responsible for Chamko Township in Dingri County, since it's been more severely affected. Before the work was completed, staff also gave suggestions to locals.
We also lectured them on how to keep healthy after the earthquake. For example, we told them not to casually drink water and highlighted the importance of keeping warm, since it's easy to suffer from flu in winter.
The resettlement of local communities has been another major focus of relief efforts following the earthquake. Authorities have also focused on disinfecting debris amid livestock and other animal remains to keep locals healthy.
That was Zheng Songwu reporting. Turning to Europe, incumbent Croatian President Zoran Milanovic has won a landslide victory to claim a second term as president. He took the presidential runoff with a commanding lead over his rival. Milanovic garnered nearly 75% of the votes. Alyosha Milenkovic has more.
This is the moment when the first exit polls were announced in the election headquarters of President Zoran Milanovic. A 3-1 lead was far more than hardly anyone expected, hence the cheering roar from the crowd. Some 2 hours later, after official results confirmed a landslide victory, the man of the hour hit the stage to address his supporters. In a brief victory speech, Milanovic spoke of tensions that had escalated between the ruling party and him over the past 5 years.
The government holds the highest responsibility for this country, and I am urging them to hear that. That's the message Croatian citizens are sending them this evening. I don't consider this as support from me. Let's not kid ourselves. Nobody gets 75% support. It's just at this moment and just today.
The government, led by the HDZ party, supported Dragan Primorac in his presidential race. But more than a personal loss, his crushing defeat is seen here as the defeat of Prime Minister Andrej Plenković and the HDZ. Milanovic's victory, though, wasn't a surprise, not even for his opponent, Primorac. Earlier on Sunday, after casting his own ballot, Primorac addressed journalists, giving, some might say, excuses about the likely loss to come.
In this short time, I tried to present myself to the voters in the best possible way. In these very strange elections, I would say at the very least, there were never so many untruths told. It wasn't easy to get by.
Voter turnout in this second round was only around 44%, slightly lower than the first round. Another sign that there wasn't much question about the outcome and people may not have been moved enough to engage. And the presidential race is over. The incumbent Zoran Milanovic will remain in office. The overwhelming level of public support he received at the ballot box, some say, herald likely shifts on the horizon in Croatian politics. Shifts that might include a snap parliamentary election, as the people of Croatia have clearly shown their support for the president and their discontent with government policies.
That was Alyosha Milenkovic reporting. Still in Europe, Germany's major parties have been signing off on candidates and manifestos ahead of a federal election in 6 weeks. This came after the ruling three-party coalition fell apart late last year. Peter Oliver has more from Berlin.
It was all smiles at the Social Democrat Party conference in Berlin. The current German leader, Olaf Scholz, was confirmed as the SPD candidate for Chancellor. Only 5 delegates out of nearly 600 failed to back him.
Others want to demolish our democracy with their chainsaws. We are fighting to preserve and renew the successful Made in Germany brand for the ordinary people in our country. So, we fight.
A rousing reception for the Chancellor here at party conference. But if Olaf Scholz and the SPD really do have ambitions of returning to governance after this election, they're going to have to overcome one heck of a gap in the polls.
They are currently third in the polls on 16%. That's 14 points behind the Conservatives on 30% and 6 points behind the second-placed AfD on 22%. While things were fairly festive in Berlin, they were more fraught in Saxony, where the far-right AfD were going through the same process of approving a candidate for Chancellor. Delegates were delayed by protesters en route to the venue. But once things got up and running, Alice Weidel was confirmed as the AfD candidate.
Die Grenzen lückenlos schließen und jeden illegal.
Close the borders completely and turn back anyone entering the country illegally and without papers. And a very clear message to the whole world. The German borders are closed. They're friends, they're closed.
The Christian Democratic Union rubber-stamped Friedrich Merz as its candidate for the Conservative bloc.
Ich kann mir ehrlich gesagt nicht vorstellen, dass der amerikanische Präsident.
I honestly cannot imagine that the American president is in any way impressed by a 4-minute press conference or a 4-minute press statement by the German Chancellor on Greenland, the Gulf of Mexico, or the Panama Canal. Moralising from Germany has never made an impression in America and has usually had the opposite effect.
Merz believes he can provide the right balance between Europe and the USA. The Conservatives are running on a manifesto of keeping Germany's strict rules on government borrowing and lowering income and sales taxes.
That was Peter Oliver reporting. Finally, in Africa, the Sudanese armed forces have regained control of a strategic position in the country's central region. The army recaptured Wad Madani, the capital of Gazira state, from the Rapid Support Forces. Many people have taken part in demonstrations across major cities to celebrate the army's victory, but there are also fears of renewed fighting, which could worsen the dire humanitarian and security situation across the country. Naba Mohideen has more from Port Sudan.
There were widespread celebrations in Al Jazeera state and other parts of Sudan as the Sudanese army took control of Wad Madani on Saturday. This was a surprising military advance amid a deteriorating security and humanitarian situation in the state and nearby regions. Many civilians have been on the receiving end of atrocities committed by the RSF, and they've welcomed the Sudanese military's latest battlefield conquest.
We are very satisfied and surprised. The RSF militia have committed horrific violations in Al Jazeera for over a year. It's time for them to be defeated. They have no future in Sudan.
It took a long time to do it, but it happened. We were displaced for over a year and we've lost everything when RSF took over Madani. But now we can start from the beginning and return home.
Wad Madani has been under the control of the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces since December 2023, and it's been a center for their operations towards nearby states. Wad Madani is the capital of Al Jazeera state and the nearest city to Khartoum. It has hosted hundreds of thousands of people since the war erupted in the capital on April 2023 and morphed into a major agricultural and industrial hub.
This development will place a stranglehold on the RSF and besiege them on eastern Khartoum and Al Jazeera and cut the supply routes. It has short and long-term and strategic importance, which shall accelerate the retaking of the capital and minimize the conflict zones.
The relentless fighting in Sudan has caused a humanitarian crisis, which has seen over 12 million people displaced and thousands killed. It has also pushed the health system and economy to the brink of collapse. Despite the continued fighting, there are increasing calls by the international community for a peaceful resolution of the current conflict that has left millions leading desperate and miserable lives.
That was Naba Mohideen reporting. Before we go, here's a recap of today's top stories. Ravaging wildfires in Los Angeles have killed at least 24 people. Xizang has held a memorial service to mourn the victims of the 6.8 magnitude earthquake hitting the southwestern Chinese region. And incumbent Croatian President Zoran Milanovic has won a landslide victory to claim a second term as president. And that's it for this edition of The Top Story, a podcast that brings you world headlines every weekday. For more news in politics, business, sports, and culture, you can subscribe to The Beijing Hour, a one-hour podcast news magazine program. We welcome and appreciate all ratings and reviews. I'm Do Hongyu. Thank you for listening.